Hi, welcome to Beyond Broth's first summit, Nurturing a New World from Chaos to Goodness. I'm Grace Ventura, founder and creator of Beyond Broth. Joining us today is, I'm going to say your whole full name, Elzabieta Kosmicki. God, it feels so good to just say it.
I love that.
I want to say it again, one more time. Elzabieta Kosmicki. I met Elza. Wow, I probably have known you for lifetimes, like many of the folks here, but I met Elza at a hot springs, which couldn't have been a better meeting place. In the womb of the mama, in the warm waters, oh, just dancing in the water. And I think that's where, wow, that connection was just so deep and sweet. So I want to say a little bit more about you, though. As far as just giving you, I mean, folks can look at the bios. I'm not going to read a whole bio, but what I love about Elsa's very rounded background is she comes from some of the ancient wisdom of like classical Chinese medicine, which I so appreciate the traditional, what has been given to us and passed down. We are the caretakers of it at this point. Structural integration, so a lot of body therapy, somatic, so somato-emotional kind of work, women's and children's health, herbalism, Qigong, martial arts, which is that traditional. And she has two lovely daughters, and I got to meet them at the hot springs too. And she works with something called Body Talk, which is, again, that mind-body, and she could totally, if she wants to say more about it, you're welcome to, Elsa. But yeah, I want to kind of dive into the topic that we are going to talk about today, which is finding your inner compass through seasonal awareness. I love that. But I have so many questions about it, and I'm so looking forward to this topic because it's so connected to this earth. It's connected to what we get to live with, the seasons. So without further ado, I would like to hand this to you and comment on anything that I have shared thus far, and then we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I definitely, think back to our first meeting. It was so wonderful to connect with you. And what was so interesting is at the hot springs, I had said to my daughter, we saw the Beyond Broth packets in the lobby, and something just drew my eye to those packets. And I am a big fan of cooking. I'm a big fan of food as medicine, and I love broth. I make a lot of broth, different kinds throughout the year. And when I couldn't see what it said on the packet, but something. And then as I got closer, I said, oh, it's a broth. And I was like, wow, I really need to try this. I really need to try it out and see how I like it. And, I want to learn more about this product. And then lo and behold, we met while soaking in the pool just a while after that. And come to find out you are the founder of this amazing company. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was a lovely synchronicity that kind of drew us together, and just very grateful to connect with you through that. And then, support your product. I had you on my radio program, and I'm really happy to be here talking about the concept, which is so far, far, far close to every bit of history of our own healing and social development and our evolution as people, the understanding of seasonal rhythms and the awareness that we can build into our own self, our behavior, and our well-being by following the guidance of the seasons. So this is something I'm just so passionate about because over so many years in my work, I have around 20 years, coming up on 20 years of background, starting out from community health education into clinical practice, to teaching, to martial arts, to all of these, varying degrees and approaches of looking at the human form and supporting people through their stages of change wellness. And through looking back over so many years, the theme for me that really fit for everyone, no matter where they are in their lives, no matter what age they're at, no matter what their health state is or their disease process is that seasonal wellness and the ability to tap in of the seasons is an approach that is highly effective, it's safe, and it's accessible. And because we are part of the earth and we are in this great, powerful time where we are being reminded of our relationship to the earth, almost in a sense being required to face up to any ways we've lost our relationship to the earth. I thought now more than ever, this topic and finding ways to bring people back simply to whether it be seasonal eating, seasonal movement, seasonal behavior, or even recognizing the seasons in each breath and in each day was something that was really, not only at the precipice of my evolution in my career, but was something that was the most important thing I could do as an educator and as a clinician to help support my clients and support, anyone that is interested in learning about this topic, especially at this time.
Wow, that's awesome. One of the things that came into my mind as you were speaking was that when we are keyed into our natural biorhythms and presence with seasons, that's exactly what it does, is it brings so much more presence and deeper, well, if you are listening to the body. And I'd love to hear how, what different ways do you experience being able to listen deeper to your body in those seasons and rhythms?
Yeah, so with, as you mentioned, my background in classical Chinese medicine, looking at the study of Chinese medicine, we work with the 5 elements, and these relate to the 5 seasons that we experience throughout the year. So those elements being the wood element, which is related to spring, the fire element, which is related to summer, the earth element related to late summer, and then moving into the metal element relating to autumn, and the winter element relating into winter. So this framework, this 5 element theory, is essentially a pattern language that can translate to all parts of every aspect of our existence. So we are able to work very dynamically and complex with the different ways that our patients might show up, and we can express and connect with moving energy in different ways. But for me personally, what I found to be the most fascinating was studying the pathways of the different energy channels that relate to the different elements and recognizing where they are in our own body, and then being able to identify how to express more fluidly and more aligned through these different pathways and how they relate to the different qualities within how, within the elements, and then within the way that the elements actually hold us up in space. So I've spent many years with this juxtaposition of looking at this relationship of Chinese medicine and structural integration and the energetics of it, and have found this just beautiful poetry in recognizing how these pathways move the body. So on a tangible sense, what that looks like for me and what I share with my clientele is teaching them about the pathways through the Taoyin yoga practice, and then also studying and observing the quality of the movement of these pathways through posture awareness, through somatic awareness, through martial arts, and through creative expression, through the embodiment of being within our elements. We can evolve a little bit further into that by looking at experiencing things like seasonal eating, which I mentioned before, even breath work practices, and then honoring when we understand what makes up these elements within us and how they're related to our emotions and our spirit, honoring the different behaviors that are appropriate during different seasons or during different parts of the day that tap us back into nature's biorhythm, that don't take us away from it, but help us to participate actively in the natural rhythm that is existing all around us.
I'm curious, since we're talking about this finding of that inner navigation using seasonal awareness. So here we are in the summertime, and I wonder if you could offer an experience for folks in this present time, this season, and just an example so there's some connection to it.
Sure, I would love to. Thank you so much for inviting me to bring our guests through an experience. What I would love to do is take us through a little process that's going to first bring us back to a baseline, and then the next piece we'll do is we'll tap into the organs of the fire element, and then we'll move that energy with a little bit of Qigong practice. So this is kind of a blending of different approaches that you might find in this publication, or if you are working with me clinically, that we might use. So the first technique I'll teach here is what's called the body top cortices technique. And so this technique is going to reset the right and left hemispheres of the brain and help the brain and the body to communicate through the mind, the heart, and the gut to support integration of our 3 energy centers, as well as our yin and yang. So this brings us kind of, where do we get back to baseline? So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to use the internal technology of our breath, our awareness, and the direction or focus and intention of that awareness to create a shift or a change. So the first thing that I'll have our participants do is just find a comfortable seat. And if it is available to you, if you like, you can ground your feet onto the earth. If you're sitting on the floor, maybe sitting crisscross is comfortable for you. And then we're just going to begin by moving inward to our breath. So just taking a moment to notice where your breath is. Watching the breath as it moves from the center to the surface of the body on the inhale. Allowing that breath to return back to the center as you release on the out breath. Inhaling, noticing qualities of where your thoughts or emotions are. Tapping into the more subtle frequencies of the body. And exhaling. sinking into the physical spaces of the body, checking in with the felt sense of where you're at in your body. Breath is our single most available tool that we have immediate access to at any given moment to greatly enhance awareness, connection, and presence. So as we feel the awareness of the breath, I'm going to invite you through this process to stay with the depth and the evolution of that depth of breath. Staying with that connection, movement of breath. You're going to take one hand, whichever you prefer, and you're going to place it at the base of the skull, hand on the back of the head. Breathe into the feeling of that hand on the back of your head. Notice the sensation of awareness of the breath guiding itself to that space. I want you to imagine through your mind's eye that where your hand is placed, you can see a bridge of awareness connecting the right and left sides of the brain. Feel that connection. Notice through your breath this awareness. And as you tap into that awareness, I'm going to invite you to tap over the head gently, waking up the mind, thinking about, feeling into, linking up the right and left hemispheres of the brain, and updating the brain's picture of the body. Tapping over the heart, finding awareness and presence with the heart field. Continuing to think about linking up the right and left hemispheres of the brain and updating the brain's picture of the body. We're going to also tap over the belly to tap into our gut brain. Continuing that visual, sensory awareness through your breath of connecting up both sides of the brain. When you feel ready, we're going to bring our hand one hand breadth up. So where your pinky was, your thumb is going to end up, which is coming to this next segment of the brain. And then go ahead and allow your hand to tap between head, heart, and gut. Tap at the pace that feels right to you. Listen to your body's own inner guidance. Exchanging that tapping between head, heart, and gut as you feel. Thinking about linking up the right and left hemispheres of the brain and updating the brain's picture of the body. Continuing to walk the hand across the midline of the head, following that intention of awareness of connection, brain and the body through the breath. We tap over these three energy centers, head, heart, and gut, to bring this awareness. Breathing into that experience, just noticing that connection of brain and body, continuing to walk across the midline of the brain. Eventually the hand moves all the way down to the brow, covering into that prefrontal cortex, just using the hand as a focusing tool to bring in energy, intention, and awareness to the space of the brain. In the last hand position, we're going to bring our hands to the sides of the head. You can use your fingertips to tap. You can bring one hand down, tapping over heart and gut. Just integrating these three brains, brain-body communication, yin and yang, right and left, meeting in your center line. Just noticing the breath through the body, noticing any awareness, or expansion that has been created. I'm going to shift our attention to belly breath. Let me place the hands on the belly. You're going to wake up, rubbing or connecting into the physical space of the small intestine. Just noticing, bringing energy into that space. Consciousness patterns associated with this area of the body tap us into our ability to discern, our ability to separate the pure from the impure. Small intestine takes in the nourishment from the stomach and presses on the resources of that nourishment into the blood. That blood is then sent into the heart, and the heart can then nourish all parts of the body with that intelligence. Small intestine is also responsible for taking what we don't need and sending it to the colon to allow for the body to rid itself of waste. So as you feel your breath in that area of the small intestine, waking up the presence of that physical organ, invite yourself to just come back to the center of your own inner truth and recognize that your body knows what is true. Your body has the resources to separate what is not true and discern what it needs. Next piece we'll add in is a little massage. So we're going to start at the pinky finger and we're going to connect to the small intestine meridian. We're going to massage the energy from the pinky finger down to the knife edge of the hand. And we're going to begin to walk this energy up the side of the arm and coming all the way up to the side of the arm, coming into the back of the shoulder, up the side of the neck, and right into this area of the TMJ. This is small intestine channel. Work on the other side, waking that energy up, starting on the outer part of the pinky, coming to the outer side of the arm, past the elbow, and just squeezing and massaging, just waking up the space, coming across the shoulder blade to the side of the neck, and then all the way right into that TMJ space. And just noticing, taking a breath, maybe placing one hand on the small intestine area, and then breathe into that space that you've created awareness at. Feel the awakening, those lines of energy, those fire lines. I'm going to bring our attention to the energy of the heart. Maybe placing a hand at the heart. Allow your breath to expand and open. Noticing how much more space you can create in the heart. Locking your attention at the center of the heart. Releasing and letting go into that expansion. Inhaling, magnetizing support and energy and connection from the world around you in towards the heart. And exhaling, electric energy of expression, sharing, and connection from inside of the heart. How much more space for magnetizing, drawing in at the level of the heart, and expressing, sharing outwardly at the level of the heart. Fire season time connects us to connection, place of celebration, a place of shared expression, long nights, laughter, joy, empathy. I'm going to carry that awareness out from the heart. We're going to work to open up the heart channel. So we'll start inside of the armpit, just massaging and opening the energy from the inside of the armpit through the inner side of the arm, out through the elbow, down that line on the inside, the lateral part of the arm, all the way out, pinky line. We'll work with the other side, starting in the armpit, and then opening up through the inside of the elbow. And just tapping into this pathway through the inside of the wrist, and then out the pinky. And just taking a moment to feel the openness of that space that you brought attention to. Coursing the breath through that space. And we'll finish with a little bit of fire element qigong, which will connect us to these pathways. So you're going to take your hands and make a beak with your fingers. So all your fingers come in to one little energy beak. And that beak is going to draw itself into the shoulder nest. And then the eyes are going to gaze right here into the center of the chest. So looking inward. Inhaling inward. Exhaling. Arms open up to the sides. Fingertips get wide and open. And express outward. Feel that stretch and openness, the heart expanding, fire element representing maximum expansion. Inhale, drawing in, magnetic. Fingers come back to a beak. Drawing in the connection and support, all the nourishment. Exhaling. Hands come out. Reaching all the way out through the fingertips, opening up to full potential. Inhaling, drawing in. Exhaling, expressing out. Inhale, draw in. Exhale, express out. Last pass through, inhaling, drawing that energy in. Magnetic, shared, absorbing. Exhale, expressing maximum expansion outward. You can bring the arms down and just return to center. I'm going to tap that awareness into the mind. Connecting the mind to this fire pathway, this place of expression, maximum expansion. Tap that energy into the heart. Connecting to the color red. The taste of bitter or scorched, looking like a barbecue grill. Summer energies. consciousness of I am, full potential of expression and shared expression. And then tapping this into the gut movement of the ruling of the energy of the blood, nourishment of the blood. We absorb nutrients, and the blood then carries them and nourishes our heart and all parts of our body. I'm just taking a moment to just feel where you are in this moment. And then asking yourself, what lights my inner passion? What is it that ignites your inner passion? Without judgment, with discernment and awareness, just tap into that message, that image, that feeling, that reminder. I'm going to ask you even, how can you bring more of that back to the world at this time? You're ready, you can come back to the room, come back to connection with us here. How are you feeling, Grace?
Thank you. I needed that.
Yeah.
Felt very integrating and balancing, grounding. Yeah, there's, there's just so much chaos and intensity out there these days. And I find that I need to go in every single day without a doubt to maintain, just to maintain. Whereas in the past, I could get away with not doing that every day. But these days, it's requiring much more attention. And I love this tool. As I was coming out, I said, yay, we have a recording of you.
Yay! Well, and I love that you asked to share that, because it was kind of like a on the fly little, okay, how do we connect these different dots? And, in the Reasons in Season magazine, and if our listeners or participants want to tap into that, you can get access to that magazine, that digital publication, which will actually be coming out weekly with these practices at reasonsmag.com. And you can follow us on Facebook, Reasons and Season. You can find us on Instagram, Reasons and Season. The season is singular. The reasons is plural, because there's lots of reasons for each singular season. And really, it was a collection of, great thinkers and creators and people coming together to do just that, to give people one yoga practice, one breath practice, one really wonderful, yummy recipe. We have a recipe for these amazing hibiscus, strawberry, basil popsicles to cool you off and calm some of that confusion and overwhelm that so many of us are feeling. And you couple these sensory experiences and these practices together with some philosophy or with some key questions.
That's great.
And, it's really about bringing people back to that baseline.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so important. This is a wonderful collection of tools that you're offering. And I'm so grateful that we've gotten to share about it, and that folks can have also a little taste of an experience of, what that, I think I must be doing these interviews for very selfish reasons.
or you just take the right resources, because, the bottom line, it's like very simple. We're all on the same wavelength, and the more we tap into our seasonal rhythms, the more we get on that wavelength.
Absolutely. It's part of, nature's rhythms. We are all part of nature. We're a microcosm of this global, just planetary life form that's floating in the cosmos here in space. And we're all on this spinning ball. And the earth, everything is reflected, everything from the inside out, the way that we're perceiving. When I think about that inner compass, I feel like it's so important that we're paying attention here, because we really do manifest outside of us the energetic qualities that we are feeling inside. If
Mm-hmm.
we're feeling like crap, we're not creating, it's like, how do we come in balance? And I'm not saying that we all feel everything. We're human. Now, an emotion isn't better than the other. Some are more pleasurable, but it's our humanity. And this humanity, to key in and to treat it with kindness and goodness, and listen and pay attention to what's happening inside and outside. And I just, it's so important that we're honoring this human that is our vehicle. It is our vehicle that we're passing through here, as another life form here. And it's so important that we're taking care of it and responsible for it. And in all realms, it's not just the diet and all of that and the exercise, but it's how our thoughts, and how, are we paying attention to our sensations and our body.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the tool that you're offering to support that.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I got that connection really clearly when I was gardening. And I used to have about a half of an acre garden farm that it would sell food baskets from. And I started recognizing that as a woman, energetically, when I was working with the plants, that when I would be ovulating, my plants would have flowers. And when I
oh
would
my
start
gosh,
to have my
wow,
cycle, then
that's
the first
awesome.
fruit would emerge. And then there was even deeper lessons with composting and, taking dead material and sorting through it and organizing it and releasing it back into the earth and turning it back into soil, and that
Oh,
cyclical nature of birth and death with, every inhale and exhale, or every monthly cycle, or every annual cycle, that, this seasonal rhythm is going on without us no matter what. And
that's right.
when COVID hit, I spent, I wasn't in my clinical practice. I was back to doing art, which was something I hadn't done for 20 years, which was like, oh my gosh, this feels so wonderful. But nature wasn't hurried. Nature wasn't bothered. The sun was still rising. The moon was still rising. The movement of wind was still happening through the trees. The, springtime blossoms were still coming, and things were moving on. And it was so clear to me. I was doing my morning qigong standing practice every morning and listening to the earth, watching the earth, not having to rush my kids to school, not having to go to the clinic, not having to make sure that I, ran across town to get to the grocery, or whatever it would be that my mind would be so occupied and busy with. And that's where, this Reasons in Season project came out of, because it was like, God, if we could take one little piece of this and just remember that when we go back into the world and we start opening up and going back into our work or changing, with this evolution that we're going through, what's the map? What's the guide? We haven't done this yet historically, but nature's done it over and over and over. And so for me, it was like, how do I help people get back to that map? And the only way we can get there is to stop occupying our consciousness with all of the distractions and live in rhythm with what's happening around us.
Yes.
And that overarching pattern of nature that undeniably prevails,
Yes.
I think, is the best teacher, the greatest teacher, the best resource that any of us can really be listening to. And we are part of it. And it just takes a little bit of remembering and reminding. And there's many ways to get there. But I'm glad that I've been able to cultivate with a group of phenomenal teachers and artisans and really revolutionary thinkers to bring a project like this out to the public at this time, and hope that this is my little piece that provides that bit of peace and reconnection for times like this, and many years to come, because that blueprint that we're laying out, it's going to keep connecting us more and more each year. What you learn from the spring experience of yourself, from the summer experience of yourself, the next summer you have all of that, and you get to go a little deeper, and then you get to go a little bit deeper, and you're never going to run out of how you can learn about the depth and quality of these aspects of who we are, because it is everything that exists within us. And there's so much space we can find inward, and so much space that juxtaposes outward. And this is my tribute to that reminder.
That's so beautiful. I love your creation. It is the expression of you as a healer in the form that you have created, integrating so many different beautiful elements. And I just, it's a beautiful work of art, really. It is a work of art. And that's part of this, what I think of as an inner compass, is tapping into that creative, it's tapping into all of it. So I think as far as our daily health and maintenance and wellness care, self-care, that this is such a beautiful guide to take care of this human, So I'm going to integrate, I'm going to play with some of that little exercise that we did.
Yeah.
There's so many things that are offered out there, and this is just a really beautiful, simple support tool.
Yeah, and stay tuned for our fire issue that's, we're starting to release it, coming up in the next couple of days. And it's
fabulous. And we'll actually be putting all your information. So wonderful. Everything, folks can see what you're offering, and we will put out what your offer is, as well, as we're keeping them kind of a surprise. Mm-hmm. So that will all be listed for everybody. With this beautiful collection of humans that are joining me on this summit.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for doing what you're doing, and providing the nourishment that you're providing through Beyond Broth. I think it's a phenomenal product. We love it. My kids love it. My favorite snack with it is we partnered also with another company called C60 Purple Power, and they have this phenomenal carbon 60 molecule coconut oil, which is a super antioxidant. So we do a little Beyond Broth with the C60 and the seaweed, and it is like the best thing ever. It's my daughter, who's 12-year-old. She's, it's a awesome, phenomenal afternoon snack. And yeah, we love it. And we look forward to more collaboration with your recipes and getting the word out on all the different angles. So thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Well, on that note, I'm just, is there anything else you want to add before we close this up and wish everyone a beautiful day?
The last thing I'll add is that one of our features this season is cayenne. And so the Vitality
Oh.
Beyond Broth has that little bit of spice and cayenne in it. And so it's wonderful heart medicine. It's wonderful for the circulation. It will keep things moving and also has the potentiating energy of bringing your energy out into the world. So it's a great broth that you can use for the summer season. And Grace has all kinds of fun recipes and fun ways to play with it. And so I hope you guys out there can enjoy that and tap it into your heart and feel all that circulation and blood moving through your system, nourishing you and keeping you healthy.
Oh, beautiful. I did not ask her to say that, by the way.
No, that was total from the heart. I love it. And that's my my natural intention to share and plug and support.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Elza. It's really been such a pleasure. You are such a gift. What you're offering is really so just stunning and inspiring and generous. So thank you again for being here. Thank you, everyone, for showing up, and have a beautiful day.
Yes, many blessings. Happy summer.